This is the Tier 10 Soviet Tech Tree Heavy Tank, the ST-2, a vehicle that you just don't see rolling around in the battlefield anymore. In my opinion, it is an incredibly underrated tank with a pretty unique playstyle, and in today's video I'll be showcasing the capabilities it has and why I think that this is a super great tank to grind. So let's start off with the major draw point, which is obviously the two guns. I would best describe this vehicle as an IS-4 with a worse gun in certain regards, but a more enjoyable profile. What do I mean by that? Well, the IS-4 is just a strong heavy. It is amazing at side scraping, it's got a super solid turret that nothing really pens, and it's got a solid gun with 340 mils of heat pen and enough DPM to get the job done. The ST-2 sacrifices some of that damage per minute, and it sacrifices a lot of that pen, going from 340 to 310. That's definitely one of the big stinker moments about the vehicle, is not being able to cut through E100 turrets consistently or heavily armored vehicles, but as long as you're a decent aim, you should be alright. And it's the fact that you get the same type of gun as an IS-4, but you get two of them. So, if you charge up your shells for about 3 seconds, you can fire both shots at the exact same time, dealing a whopping 880 damage. The fact that you're a low-profile Soviet heavy, you have 8 degrees of gun depression, and a gun that can deal 880 damage with just 3 seconds of charging, and if you time it properly, you can charge while pulling out of cover. It allows this tank to be incredibly devastating. Now, as I said, that's not to say it doesn't have downsides, but when you can get this gun, especially the double shot mechanic, to work, it only takes about 4 salvos and you're easily sitting upwards of 3,000-4,000 damage, which is it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. The big downside, I would say, of the ST-2 is the mobility, and it's the major reason I've got such a wonky equipment loadout. If we take a look, its effective top speed is 38. Even though it says its top speed is 40. Yeah, its terrain resistances are so bad that the vehicle literally cannot reach its base top speed when stock. That's terrible. And on medium terrain, it goes 28 at top speed. 28! That is horrendous. So because of that, I'm running a very unique loadout. I am running improved hardening. I feel like this is just a must-have on any heavy tank that's going to be bouncing shots. Then I am running Grousers, and we have my mobility slot. So already, with just the Grousers, we are able to increase our top speed from what was 38 to 40, changing our medium terrain top speed from 28 to 33. But we're not done yet. We are also running a turbo. Now, I was thinking about putting an experimental level 3, but instead I've gone with an experimental level 2 mobility improvement. Now our effective top speed on hard terrain is 44, 35 on medium, but it gets even better because we don't have brothers on arms, we also have off-road driving, and then we also have our food, and when you add all these things together, it actually starts to make the tank decently fast. We also have padding removal, and we have maintaining speeds on all-terrain suspension. After fully equipping this tank to my current loadout, we are able to drastically change the overall capabilities of this tank. For example, our top speed went from 38 to 46. That alone is an 8 km/h buff, which is kind of insane. But it gets even crazier on medium terrain. The vehicle's original top speed was 28. Now it is 41. That is a 13 km/h buff. It actually makes this tank somewhat fun to drive wherever you're going, and you can get there pretty fast. And when it comes to your effective top speed, even on soft terrain, it got a 10 km/h buff. Overall, the vehicle actually drives now, and it doesn't feel awful. Our reverse speed is now 16 instead of 13 because we are running a turbo, so we can reverse pretty fast. We got a decent top speed. Everything about this tank's mobility actually feels pretty good. And the traverse speed also got buffed massively. Originally, its traverse speed was only 27 on hard terrain. Now it is 44. And on medium terrain, it was originally 20. Now it is 34. That is a 14 traverse speed degree a second buff. Again, these are big changes, and when you're actually fighting opponents, you're going to notice these big time. So overall, I have really no complaints here about the vehicle's mobility anymore. We still have a lot of health at 2,900, enough to easily weather the storm, and the thing is that we don't really need damage per minute. We can't increase it that much. All I could do is run vents, and it goes from like, what, 2,900 to back to our Yeah, it's like a 70 buff, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things. You're not even going to notice it. And if you take a look, our dispersion and overall other stats are actually pretty solid on the tank. We've got 0.35 dispersion, an aiming time of 2.83 seconds, which sure isn't great, but the on-movement values are amazing. 0.13, 0.13, and 0.05. This tank is laser accurate on the move, especially when you're turning the turret. So you don't really need to make the gun much better. I mean, sure, you could run an aiming device, but I'd much rather have the ability to get in and out of situations I'm in. So obviously there will be people that disagree with my loadout here, but at the end of the day, it's my loadout and I have fun using it, so that's all that really matters. So now that we've showcased the ST2, let's actually get into some gameplay so you can see what this mobility actually feels like. Here we are on Mountain Pass. We are in a pretty solid matchup. Up against us we have only a few tier 10s, and most of which aren't going to be going to the left side of the map like us. Now you will notice that our mobility is pretty good right off of the get-go in the ST2, and this is going to help us cross over to the 1 line as fast as possible. So here we go, we're already speeding up 36, 37 kilometers per hour. What did we say my top speed was? Like 41-ish, so yeah, we're not going to go super fast, but the fact that we can even keep up with vehicles like the Object 752 is honestly a miracle, because we are currently driving all only on medium terrain. And obviously making this crossing as fast as possible is super important, because people can hit you in this little area right here. But thankfully we are already going upwards of 40, and we didn't even get spotted, so not... Oh, never mind, we did get spotted. I take it back. So we are going to go wide and head over towards the Kampfpanzer 50-ton and the Object 140. Our M4190 spots them, and we're just going to head right in. Now, I'm not going to YOLO it to begin with. We are going to get into the hull-down spot opposite to where those mediums are. This tank has 8 degrees of gun depression, and it has a really solid turret. The only real weakness of the turret armor is the fact that its hatch is about 280 thick, and it means the majority of premium shells are going to cut right through you. But we see a Cobra, and I have strategically maneuvered my way around this rock so that we don't get spotted until we poke. And, yeah, I mean, you just can't do that in any other tank. An E100 wouldn't have been able to get here fast enough and get that shell out. The previous iteration of equipment, if you were to do like what Skill has on his ST2 or what Quickie Baby has on his ST2 in terms of mobility, guarantee they wouldn't have been there fast enough to get the shells into the Cobra. But because of our loadout, we are able to get fast enough into early game positions to get these massive chunks and hopefully change the course of the battle. So we got the 140, we're aiming on his hatch. There you go, nice shot, overmatching the roof. Unfortunately, we do get hit in our hatch as well. But we're up to 1200 damage, and at this point, I'm like, you know what, I still have 2,500 health left. They only have 2 vehicles here, so we're going to use that mobility and try to get as fast as possible into the front line. Our driver does get absolutely crapped on, but it shouldn't matter all too much. We got the Kampfpanzer in front of us, and we got Violent Otter in our Progetto helping. Unfortunately, Violent Otter keeps going in front of me, which is rather irritating, but we're going to aim it on the side of the 140. He turns at the last second, so because of that, it looks like one of our shells goes into his angled side armor. The other one is able to actually pen, so we did about 1,500. Not all too bad. Kampfpanzer bounces me, and then he's dead. So pretty solid starts. Not gonna lie at all. We did 1,500 damage, and we were able to absolutely obliterate not only one of the deadlier tier 10s in their matchup, but as well the Cobra, which is obviously super important to clear. We got an AMX M4 in front of us, and this isn't too big of a threat. I was thinking about doing double shot, but I don't know if I trust both shells hitting him, and we are going to lose DPM. So might as well just shoot it single shot, easily get the shell into the AMX M4. Weirdly enough, the Object 752 tells me to retreat, and then proceeds to drive out sideways, and yeah, die. Sometimes I literally cannot. Like, I can't. But, oh well, he's going to give me some cover to use my big old turn on. We got the side of a Vipera. Easy shot right into the side, right? Easy, easy. We hit them! Whoa! Yeah, unfortunately, both of our shells went low. Did not end up penetrating the Vipera, which is super disappointing, because that literally would have been 800 damage and brought us over 3k in just one single salvo. It's a great example, though, on how, with this type of vehicle, your damage really resides on just one chunk of damage sometimes. So the Vipera's back in cover. We know that the Lance's looking at us, but he's not going to pen me, and I'm not going to be able to hit him at that angle, so we're just going to move on up, which should be pretty easy. to get maybe a nice chunk in. Lance and pokes. We get a very lucky shot. I don't even know how that hit him, to be real, but we hit the Lancin. I'll take it. Nice 394. And then he just kind of sits in front of the object 752 and gets clipped. So not really sure what was going through that player's mind. We are going to move on up. We got the ELC and the Vipera in front of us. And this is, again, where the mobility is nice. We are going 43 right now, 44. You could not do this even with a base turbo. You would have to run Grousers. You would have to run all mobility to get this level of speed. And this is obviously massive because it allows us to get into the front line faster and get some damage out. So we're going to start loading heat shells for a couple reasons. First of all, the Vipera's actually got pretty hard armor and a pen, and I'd rather just guarantee it. But never mind, the Vipera jumps off, loses 1,000 health from fall damage, and insta-dies. I was really disappointed here because we could have done a lot of damage, but the enemy takes, just YOL it out and died. The BZ-58 said, oh, I'm going to show my entire track, and threw all of his health away. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed here, especially because that did just take a pretty solid chunk of damage that we could have dealt away. But that's alright. We got a 53 TP and a Type 5 Heavy in front. We're going to aim it on his lower plate, and, well, we've had one of the shots. It's like a 50-50 to cut through the lower plate of the Type 5 Heavy. And that is the downside of driving a vehicle like the ST2, is that it doesn't have a lot of heat pen. If Wargaming simply buffed the heat pen to like 320 or maybe 325, the vehicle would easily be a massive dominating force. But because it's pretty iffy, you're going to struggle. So I got the 53 TP in front of us. This thing's got some wonky armor, so we're going to aim it on the lower plate. And actually, that's not the 53, sorry, the 56 TP. But pretty similar overall design. We got a nice salvo into his lower plate, bringing him down to 128 health. Now we're going to aim it on the back of the Type 5 Heavy and finish him off. There you go. 4,265 damage. We blocked 2,000 and helped out our team quite a bit. Not a bad result as all. I can definitely say the ST2 did a good job here, and you could easily see where the mobility alone helped us get into the front line and get some big slaps out. I guarantee that if we were not running mobility in this game, we would have been missing out on a lot of damage. Here we are in our second battle. This game we have tier 9s and tier 10s, so it should be a bit more of a challenging game, although to be fair, we didn't even really shoot tanks lower than tier 9 last game because they all got obliterated. So this battle, we are going to try and get into a hull down position. Anytime I have a tank that has gun depression, I almost feel obligated to drive it to a spot that we can use the gun depression, because if you're not using it, then what's the point of having it? So we are going to go wide and see if we can get some decent bonks out. Now up against us, we got some strong tanks. We got a Super Conqueror, oh boy, Chieftain T95, we got 2 Bat Chats and a Concept 5. But overall, they don't have the strongest of tier 10 heavies. They do have 2 T110 E3s though, and yeah, they have a lot of pen, and I don't have a lot of pen. So because of that, E3s are always a big threat for this vehicle to deal with. We are going to go fully wide here though. I feel like it's much more beneficial to get to the wide spot in this game, especially because my team is all hugging in the corner, as we can see on my mini-map. So I feel like it's super important rather than, and in fact we can draw it here, I feel like it's super important rather than just boxing all of our team into this little corner and allowing their heavies to get up over here. I need to be one of the only players to hold this line and see what we can do. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to get hull down into this spot right in front of us here, and we're going to see if we can get some bonks. So let's see, we got an object 752 in front of us, we got a Conqueror, and another object 752. Okay, well, I was thinking about shooting the 752, but I could not see any silhouette of his vehicle through the, I guess there was a car in the way or something through the fence, so we couldn't see any silhouette, so I just figured I might as well back up so I don't bleed any health. I used my repair kit because I was a little worried he might be able to clip us, but that's fine. We are unscathed. We did have to spend 20,000 credits, but there's not much I can do about that. We got the 752. We got a nice shot right into his track wheel. We're going to aim it on his lower plate, and unfortunate. I hesitated just a teeny bit for my aiming circle to go in because I didn't think his track repairs would be that fast, but as we can see, I didn't get the second shell out. But you know what? We got 400 damage, and again, we didn't bleed anything for it. If you deal damage and don't bleed any health, then you're still always in the win. So that's a pretty good way to describe it. Now, even though the 752 has pretty good crew training and has his equipment, I'm a little surprised to see him just kind of show me the flat side of his turret, and oh! Let me deal 1,030 damage to its tank. Again, that right there is the double shot capabilities. Like, sure, I might not have as much DPM as other equipment loadouts, but we're still accurate. You can see that. I mean, in frontline engagements, we have plenty of accuracy, and this gun just, it hits so hard. So we've got both our shells back, and now we got a 50-41 in front of us, and, yeah, 887 damage into the 50-41. Now, unfortunately, the Super Conk just doesn't care. Because there's only 2 other teammates helping me, which we can, actually 3, I guess, but they're not really helping me. I have to fight the Super Conk on my own. So we get one nice shell into his vehicle, and then we're going to get into a side scrape. Because this is a Soviet heavy, at the end of the day, we still have pretty good armor for side scraping potential. And because we have 2 shells that we can load, we are obviously still a very big threat. We have also more health than the Super Conk, so at this point, we're doing pretty good, but that's the problem. There's a 7.52 on my side. So if I stay side scraping on that building, the 7.52 is going to be a massive, massive threat for me. So I can't really poke. I don't want to lose health to the 7.52, but I also can't really get into a position where the Super Conk is going to be able to be shot for me. But thankfully, the 7.52 gets cleared, and because of that, we're now able to move up a bit. Now, at this point in time, there's not really much I can do to the Super Conqueror. The vehicle has super good side armor, and really the only weaknesses are the hatch or the little bulbous part of his turret ring, which I can't go through at all. So I'm thinking, alright, maybe I'll load some heat shells here, because at least maybe I can cut through the turret with heat. But apart from that, there's not much I can do. I'd really like to get that E3, but I can't because the Super Conk's going to shoot me. It's so unfortunate he played aggressive here because he's stopping my farm. But oh well. We get a bounce from the Super Conqueror, and at this point I decide, alright, well I might as well just poke him. We're going to aim it on his lower plate, and there you go. Nice slap, goes right through his armor. Then we're able to cause him to miss the shell. Unfortunately here, I just aim too high. I didn't realize that his upper plate was that high up, and we end up bouncing the second shell. It's not the end of the world. We don't lose any health for it. And because I have so much more health than the Super Conk, I decide I'm just going to trade with him. And that obviously goes pretty well. Super Conk's down to 500 HP, and we have 3,700 damage dealt. We've blocked 2,000 damage, and we still have 1,600 hit points left. So again, all we need to do is reload here. Now, for some reason, the Super Conk decides trading with me is a good decision. I overmatch his engine deck easily, and there you go. Now we're over 4,000 damage. Super Conk is 143 HP, and we're just going to drive right on behind him, and goodbye, you are a goner. I really don't know what his thought process was there. But hey, we did our job. Our heavies were able to hold the one line, and I was able to hold the other area. And there you go. Nice clear into the enemy convoy. So we were able to deal 4,400 damage at the end of this battle. We assisted 1,123 and blocked 2,000. Not the most insane result, but we still finished top on the teams in terms of damage for both of these games. Out of the 6 battles I played today, I managed to average 3,200 damage. It could have been quite a bit higher, but I had a game where I did 400 damage because I got lit on fire and just completely demolished because of the fire. It damaged every module, and that was literally just the instant end of my game. There's not much you can do about bad luck. So it would have been closer to probably about 4K if I didn't have that game. But even then, we're still going 3,200, and not really that bad at all. We're blocking about 1,500 a game. I have no complaints about the ST2. It is a solid tier 10 heavy, and even though it does have some downsides like the gun's penetration, its accuracy is not the best, it does have some really good things. Like, once you get it fully equipped, you can have good mobility, really good on-movement dispersion, and the fact that you can just slap opponents for 880, it's pretty insane. So I actually really like the ST2. Let me know what you guys think about this vehicle in the comments down below. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.